And it says, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places.
Yeah, you got them earthquakes. Now you got a lot of them. Funny, like you have multiple volcanoes erupting, man. Guys getting caught up in that lava, and that shit is hell. You're there getting bathed in fucking lava. You're gonna get burnt up and smothered, and then you're gonna probably suffocate before you even die from the burns.
Right.
You're there like, and then you can't even breathe. You got lava down your throat. Your insides are burning. That is hell on earth, man.
Fucking hell.
Yo, that's a terrible way to go, man. You got hundreds of people dying by the hundreds by that. Hey, man, it shows that the Lord's terrible. But people don't even see it as that way. It's like, they call it a natural disaster. A natural disaster. Bro, the Lord set it down, man.
Spiritual disaster.
Amos chapter 3 verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in a city and the people not be afraid?
Yeah, imagine. And the thing is, imagine we're blowing the trumpet and, you know, people are just not even paying attention. That's the beauty of what we're doing, man. Man, I've actually just been out for years, just killing up, like, you know, letting everyone know, like, look, man, this shit's gonna go down. And no one's taking heed. That's how the Lord's got a sense of humor, man. Because it's like when it goes down, man, they think, like, where are them guys? Man is just gonna be gone, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You know, if man were at camp when it went down, you might even find a sign there. The sign might just be chilling, a couple signs chilling there. Man is just trying to break it down. Like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Man, they got the RFID chip sign. What? How?
One question to ask, you know, where it says about the Argentinians and all that, those countries didn't exist when the Bible was written.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
or do you mean the native people who lived there originally?
No. What I want you to ask you is, like, how would you understand this sign like that? Because it's very, you know, it's very simple. I mean, do you know about the 12 tribes?
I do, yeah. My parents were both ministers, Christian ministers.
Okay, so you know about the 12 tribes. So if you you know, you just go by the worldly wisdom, you know, just the general populace, who would they say the 12 tribes are today?
Today, I wouldn't know about today, but I was just curious what you meant by, because these countries didn't exist at that time, and they're all they're modern inventions.
You know, it's real simple. It's real simple. Because the thing is it's the same thing. Like, there was a period of time where Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and all the other tribes didn't exist. So, you know, you could apply that logic the other way. But I'll make it anyway. I'll just make it very simple.
Oh, okay.
This is who they are in the Bible. This is the nation. This is the bulk of who these tribes are now. Is in these nations.
Oh, you mean they've actually, like the diaspora, they've moved and they now live from where? Oh, I understand now. It's just a question, because I've always passed and I've meant to ask it.
Can I just ask you a few questions? Like, do you believe in the Bible?
I do, not as much as when I was younger, because my parents have both died recently, and when I was growing up, it was like we used to do Sunday studying and read the Bible, and then as I grew up, sort of moved away from it a bit, but not so much as I was before.
When you were studying, did you look into, like, you know, the description of the appearance of, you know, the one the world calls Jesus Christ?
Oh yes. Well, my mum, she always said that people draw Jesus according to how they look. Like, so if you see a portrait of Jesus from a European country, they make him look white. In Mexico, if you have a look at some of the portraits, they make him look darker with dark hair. People imagine him as what they look like. That's what
I've got a good counterpoint to that, because, you know, if you watch, I watched one specific documentary. If you go into, like, the areas of like Indonesia, there's churches there with guys that look nothing like it. They've got the exact same images as you'll find, like, Renaissance art. So the primary image, and the thing is even Hollywood. You go into Hollywood productions, you go into films, any films produced around the time period of the Bible, basically like all the people that they call the Israelites, the Jews, they look at like so-called white people.
Yeah, white people, they get to act. I understand what you mean, but they're sort of changing it a bit now. They might get a Middle Eastern person to play Jesus, or what. It depends on the.
This is how I just wanted to swing it. Like, do you know in the Bible that there are actually descriptions of how like the so-called Jews look and how the one the world calls Jesus Christ looks?
I'm not aware of one like a definitive description of Jesus, but I'm sure he wouldn't, as you say, he wouldn't have had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Well, that's good. Okay, we can show you what. Well, I might as well. I'll bring it to you. It's very short.
Okay.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
So I know you read the Bible, so Jesus was called the Son of Man. Like it was one of his titles he had, like Emmanuel, like the Prince of Peace.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
So he had a long garment down to the foot like they wore back then, and a golden girdle, which is like a battle brace around the chest, around like the stomach.
This is from Revelation. This is his return, not a description of him.
This is the description of him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his description.
Yeah, I mean, in the dress sense, but he might not have had a golden girdle.
Okay, well,
when he was preaching.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. Go on.
And it says, his head and his hairs were white like wool.
So his head and his hairs were white like wool. And this is describing the texture. Because, if you go to the texture of wool, sheep's wool, it's similar to an afro hair texture. Very curly. Go on.
As white as snow.
As white as snow. So it's white as woolly. The first one talking about the texture. And as white as snow. So white woolly hair. Because grey hairs represent wisdom. If you know the one the world calls Jesus Christ, he was like when he came down as who they call Jesus Christ, he had the ultimate wisdom. He had everything basically. Gone.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
His eyes were as a flame of fire. And if you go into like Genesis 49, and I think verse 10, maybe verse 9, it basically you don't have to get. It basically just describes that the one the world calls Jesus Christ, his eyes be red with wine. And if you go into like the Gospels, it describes him as a wine bibber. He drank a lot of wine.
Yeah.
So the scripture matches the prophecy from back then.
Can I say something as well? And the scripture says, "Give wine to those that be of a heavy heart." And the Lord, he was dripping great drops of blood in the Garden of Gethsemane. So he knew that he had to die. He knew that he had to die for the sins of the people on his side, because he was very stressed out. And that's another reason why he used to drink a lot of wine. He was very stressed out, man. People call him a wine bibbler,
But he knew that he had to go up on the. He knew he had to get, receive.
I know my dad always used to use that excuse when he had a drink. That he'd say, well, Jesus turned the water into wine, because my mum didn't like him having a drink, so he'd always bring that up, and so
first miracle. Ain't nothing wrong with having a drink. Sometimes you need it if you're feeling a bit sorrowful event happens.
It's not, it doesn't say not to. Overindulgence is what is wrong. If you do anything to excess.
It's like you can overindulge in your own house. It's like you can't really go outside and make a ruckus.
And it says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
So like fine brass, brass is like brown.
Like more gold colour, unless it's tarnished. If it's polished, it's gold. If it's tarnished, it does.
You burn it, it turns like very dark brown, almost black.
Oh yes, go on. Is there any more of it?
Oh well, yeah.
I understand. Yeah, because my mum did. She said she had a vision of Jesus, but she could never actually describe him properly.
The Bible does it for you, man.
Yeah, I understand.
He had dark skin,
people,
he had hair.
as I said, people do draw him according to, in the Renaissance, they drew him what they look like or what they imagined him to look like. I don't think at the time it was a sort of a racial thing.
No, it was, because the thing is like, what you need to understand is like during the Renaissance, it wasn't just a resurgence of like Greek and Roman, like basically practices and culture, just cause. It was because there was a shift in power. Like during the Dark Ages, if you go into like, if you just like, I could just whack open Google and just search. If you search like Russian icons or European icons, they've got that. A lot of them. It's like you have some of them. If you even go to Westminster Abbey, or is it Westminster? I think Westminster Cathedral. Yeah, Westminster Cathedral. Just like there's a little shop to the right. It's got like a list. It's got some of the icons that were from the Dark Ages period. You know, up on from like around 300-ish AD, maybe 192 AD, up until like 1300, about the year 1300. There were a lot of dark images all over Europe. And this is because the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi primarily, they were ruling over Europe at the time, and they're dark skinned.
Yeah.
And it's a thing where it's recorded in history as well, in the Bible, that basically when like the Greeks and the Romans, which you know they were white, those guys were when they took over Jerusalem, which is a dark skinned nation, especially at the time, it was mainly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi when they took it over. You know, they painted their image time again.
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
So this is basically after the Greeks had come in and smashed the temple. This is after I believe it was it Judas, or was it his dad still Matthias, maybe either Judas or his dad. Well, I think it was his dad still that was leading this time. That basically went to Matthias. When they went into the temple. And they basically opened the book of the law, and the Greeks are basically putting their own images, basically because that's part of control. Controlling image, that gives you control over people. Right? If you can control how people see themselves or see others, then that gives you a lot of control over them. It's the same thing with advertising. A lot of advertising is the use of images combined. So it's like this is the same thing, and it's just like with the Renaissance period. Back then, you had like the resurgence within like mainly Spain and Italy to begin with, and then I think a bit in Portugal, where you had like certain white families like the Borgia family. They came into power, and they basically took over image, because it was like the main image you see for the one the world calls Jesus Christ that gets put out there. Those go back to images of Cesare Borgia, which is one of the sons of what Pope Alexander VI of Rome, when he took over, he had that image painted up, and that's why they had it basically put out a lot.
That's why, and everyone copies it. That's why they all basically look so similar.
Well, it's basically they were like, we're going to set this as the standard. Everyone's going to basically just to say that God is white and His Son's white, because hey, if you're taking over and you're in rulership, if you're all white and you're meant to be the ultimate power in the land, then it throws a spanner and a wrench in the plans. If God's black and His Son's black.
My mum was from Jamaica and my dad was Scottish. They never really got into that because they didn't really keep pictures of Jesus. So they used to say that's just what man says he looks like. So they didn't have all those like pictures on the wall and all that.
But hey, the thing is regardless, it's like if you go, like if you watch The Passion of Christ, what's the image going to be? It's going to be exactly like the Renaissance image. Watch any, like more or less any of, only until maybe within the last maybe 6 or 7 years. Maybe I'll say 5 or 6 years. From like 2014 onwards, they've diversified it a bit. But you go back before then, pretty much every biblical like representation on TV and film, it'll be looking like a so-called white people. You go back to the 10 Commandments, and that has power. A lot of people, they might not even believe in that. It's like if you go online, the image, if someone mentions Jesus, or even like making a joke or something, or they're taking the piss, they're going to use the image that was set up in the Renaissance.
Oh, I understand.
So that's just in the consciousness of the mind of people.
I've got
that's going to be
white supremacy, innit?
Thank you as well.
That's alright, man. No, it's cool, man. Yeah, I don't know, man. That might just be a straight up leader, man. He's moving like a bit of a weasel. Yeah.
It says, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Yeah, that's it. The heathen sought to paint the likeness of their own image. And that's what's happened. You know, people get all upset. They might get messed up in the mind, thinking, but this is what, we're dealing with actual history here. You go around certain parts of Europe, you can still find them icons, man. Even in England, you got certain icons, man. There's like what, the Black Boy pub. I think it's where it's either near Wales. It's either in Wales, I think it's in Wales, man. The Black Boy pub. That was a grandson, Charles II, who was a grandson of James VI, man, and the first King James, who did the KJV. His grandson was called Black Boy. Why was his grandson called Black Boy? Why was he? Why was it in his wanted poster he was described as a tall black man? You know, that's because hey, that's what was going down. Throughout the Dark Ages, you had so-called Negroes ruling over the planet, ruling over Europe, man. That's why, like the Vikings, these Vikings, them guys had a spirit on them, man. These guys went up in the middle of fucking Scandinavia, farming. Then man just rolled out, made some boats, man made some legendary boats that can fucking sell. Man made boats that can sell to fucking America in like what the 900, I think it was like 1100, maybe a bit earlier, like 1000, the late 900s, early 1000s. The Vikings were fucking going to America, dealing with the tribe of Gad. I think they met Gad. I think they did meet Gad. I think they actually got into the mainland. I think they got into the islands the first time, the first 2 times. Then afterwards they got onto the mainland. But yeah, but like the Vikings took over. Them guys were Israelites, man. You know, even like what the Lacedaemonians, man. Them guys are Israelites. Basically, so-called white man, he has to control image, man. And he has to basically take, and because he's a thief and a liar, he has to basically steal the image of greater peoples than him, man. Especially our people, man. This guy is basically going around saying he's King David. This guy's actually going around saying he's King David, you know. That's absolutely disgusting. He's saying he's Yahweh Shai. Saying, you know, he's King Richard the Lionheart. Saying he's King James. This guy's basically meant to be everyone. You go through history. Where the hell were the niggas, man? Maybe they were just swinging on trees in Africa. That's what that's where you grow up in this so-called white man school system. You all learning history. You're gonna be learning history for 11 years. All you learn about it is slavery. Then you think, hold on. So all black people did in the whole of history was this is 11 years of classes of history. All you learn, black people were in slavery. Wow. And white people were God, ruling over everything.
That's strong white supremacy, bro.
That's some epic white supremacy, man. And that's what the so-called white man set up. Legendary amounts of white supremacy, man. That's why you can go to India and see a white image of who they call Jesus Christ. Ain't because, they just do it, you know, how they feel.
When you're ready,
I've got a precept. It's Isaiah chapter 1 verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know. My people doeth not consider.
Yeah, that's it, man. Israel don't know who their power is. Don't know who their people. They don't know who. Like they don't even know like anything about the Bible, man. These guys be going in church. They can't recite one verse. Man's been in church for the last 15 years. He can't recite one verse. Oh no, he can recite one verse.
John 3:16.
Yeah, John 3:16. Man knows that off the back of his hand. It was like, whosoever believeth in him. Whosoever. Bro, man will go in on that whosoever, man. You're trying to all break down like, okay, what does the word whosoever? I'm like, bro, you don't know the Bible, man. You're gonna read everywhere else in the Bible. It's saying only Israel is gonna be saved. Inside, outside, every sheep. The Lord says I change not. But then you're just gonna say, whosoever, and that's meant to just change all that. Give me a break, man. They say, oh, no matter Jew or Greek. I'm like, bro, why would it just separate to just 2 groups? Uneducated numpties, man. Gone.
Luke chapter 1 verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
Hey man, that's plain, man. He's visited and redeemed his people. And who are his people? That's the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's like when you go through, you're looking at basically who salvation's for. It's made evident and clear at every turn, man. Salvation's only for Israel. That's why it's like Esau's basically just looking for the way in, man. You can even go in on that topic as well. Which one were you reading a second ago? First Luke
1:68.
Okay, hold that. We can read a bit more on that after. Get the precepts he had after. Luke 168. That shit's savage, man.
Yeah.
You're an Edomite in the church. You're all trying like, no, reciting Luke 3:16, man, like a mantra. God.
It says, verse 69, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Yeah, that's it. Raise up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. So that means, you know, the house of David. Who's that even apply? You go back to the original house of David. That was the 12 tribes, man. So it's like, how the hell? And you go into Revelation. Why is there going to be 12 gates in heaven, in the kingdom of heaven? But then, you know, then why would there be an outer court? If everyone's just going to be saved, who's going to be in that outer? Is the outer court going to be for your dog and for your cat? You know, for your gerbil? No, it's not. The outer court's for the heathen.
But that's it.
That's right.
Yeah, who's going to be? You know, you read Revelation 2:25. It says what? You know,
That's
you
it.
can rule over the nations. Psalms 2 and 8. Rule over who? Well, you're going to rule over the monkeys. You're going to be planted the apes. Have the monkeys in slavery. Come on, man. It's gone.
And it says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should